If you've seen a title, you've seen a video, and the teacher was well within her rights if you heard her response. And this is also another reason why teachers, on top of poor pay, are exiting the school system in mass numbers. Let me just say this. I have adjusted my parenting because I am also of the old school, if you run up, you get done up, and gentle parenting mix. However, I've realized, especially last night, that we are at a point in my parenting where my daughter is no longer a baby and she is no longer a toddler. Gentle parenting also has to be about consequences. Now, the term consequences and repercussions, we know what that means as well, and I'm not about sparking fear in your child, but understanding that there is a cause to your behavior and then there is an effect, has to be regulated with the understanding that the world is not going to respond to you with gentleness in your poor choices and behavior. And while for a lot of us growing up who are neurodivergent, masking was also embedded with fear, it also gave us an understanding that the world is not going to gentle parent us in that way. And so we have to understand there is a level to respect and to processing our emotions and coming back and acting like we got some sense in all different parts of the world and activities of adulthood. My mother was on a cusp of teaching where the kids went from coming home with her on the weekend, and I had a bunch of adopted older brothers and sisters, to the point where she looked me dead in my face and said, don't ever become a teacher. And when I say on the cusp, I say on the cusp in this way. A lot of people didn't know which kids were her kids. They didn't go to school discussing it in that way. They just knew, that was like their second mom. And I remember I was told by my mother, and then my brothers told me the whole story, and I could just imagine that slow walk in the movies down the hallway. Some boy called her a bitch. And when the bell rang for the next, class change, she taught high school, there was a riot. And that riot was to whoop his. Now, until we get an economic system here that actually affords adults to not have to work 2 and 3 jobs and can allow them time with their children to raise them and correct some of these behaviors, we will constantly see these behaviors in young men and women seeking attention, and when they don't get it in a positive way, they try to seek it in a negative way with what essentially is their second parents. However, ain't none of these teachers getting paid enough to take on that responsibility of cultivating the behavior of your child that's almost bigger than them. These problems will absolutely persist. My goal is to give you love but still prepare you for the world, and let you know you can always come home, but also prepare you enough so that you don't ever have to. If you go back and watch another video, I had a theory on it, but this is why I think physical schools are going to disappear.